Hello and welcome to another Matura Express English stream. My name is Chris and today we're gonna talk about media and communication. So as I've already told you in the introduction of this stream, today's stream is about media and communication in the English A-level exam. I've prepared a few slides about this topic, and today's overview looks as follows. At first, I'm gonna explain or show you a little overview of the topic communication and media. Then I'm gonna tell you something about the methods of communication, and then something about verbal and non-verbal communication. Then the pros and cons of digital communication methods. Then I'm gonna talk about the impact of digital communication methods and verbal and non-verbal skills. And then we're gonna talk, or depends on the audience, gonna talk about the future of communication and media. And the last point of today is an demonstration exam analysis. Actually, I'm gonna show you two exams I've created for these two topics. And we're going to start with the overview of the topic communication and media. So, as you might know, there is a topic list. You have probably gotten from your teacher, so you should have by now a list of what you have to know for the oral English A-level exam. Very long title for an exam, but those few topics, or those topics and subtopics, you should know. And the first one is mass media. So what is mass media? Basically, you can think of mass media everything that is used in a frequently. So for example, TV is some sort of mass media. Newspapers, magazines, tabloids, which is a category of newspapers. What else? Mass media. Radio is some sort of mass media. Podcasts, all the stuff that frequently publishes something and frequently is used nowadays. And of course, you have to consider the past technologies that were used to facilitate communication. And of course, another topic, very important nowadays, is internet and mobile phones. So be sure to focus on those aspects, meaning the internet, mobile phones, and social networking. So for example, social networking is a very common means of communication nowadays, and it has become one of the biggest means of communication. Therefore, you should know everything about social networking. So social networking basically means every platform that is out there that enables us to communicate in any way, to communicate with other people. So not only writing or something. YouTube can also be a means of communication and is also part of the whole social networking family, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What else? There are a lot of things out there. In the past, there was MySpace. We have a lot of means of communication nowadays, and yeah, be sure to think about social networking too, since it's very common nowadays. And for example, if you think about Instagram, Instagram, you can also send text messages via Instagram. It's not only about the pictures and the videos, but if you have an Instagram account, which I assume, you can write other people a personal message, and which is also a means of communication. And of course, in Facebook you can do that too. You can do that on Snapchat via short video clips or pictures, photos you took. Yeah. And the other things, or the other subtopics, the internet and mobile phones are of course very important nowadays. Of course, the internet or social networking is a part of the internet, and mobile phones are also kind of connected to social networking, since I think 70% of the people who are using social media nowadays are using it via their phones, and therefore it's very important. It's very important to know it's very important to know the importance of the mobile phone nowadays. Then we're gonna move on to methods of communication. So, as I've already told you, there are traditional forms of communication, such as phone, letter, fax, or is there a comment?
Yeah, super schön präsentiert. So it's
Thank you.
Nicely.
Thank you very much for this comment, Walter. Yes, and of course, as I've told, the traditional communication methods such as phone, letters, or fax, you should know about them, of course, because we need to, or you, and not we, in the exam you need to have knowledge about past technology in order to refer it, for example, for means of comparison, or if you want to illustrate how different means of communication developed over the years, you can or you should know traditional means of communication. And of course, basically traditional communication developed out of the radio. Basically was the first mass media, if we can, was the first mass media. Of course, there were back in the days during war, there were also leaflets, a lot of leaflets, which is which was a means of communication back then. Nowadays, it's still some sort of communication, especially for advertisement. But radio was very strong back in the days and was the only means that people could get fast access to news or even political things or statements, or just informing themselves about what is happening around the world. So it was a very important means of communication. And then the TV developed, and there were a lot of things then happened which developed until now, and now we have a new age of mass media. So I think I have to correct me. The first actual mass means or type of mass media was the newspaper, not the radio. But the radio was just a new invention that brought about change. You can, especially if you compare it with nowadays, nowadays you can get a lot of information fast. So for example, if you're on the internet looking for a newspaper website, you can get every article that was written today or yesterday or the past 10 years. You can access this article. With some you need subscription, but the thing is that you can access it very in a fast way. So back in the days you had to organize yourself and get out and buy a newspaper. Nowadays you just have to subscribe to a newspaper maybe via WhatsApp and get the information every day. So basically you don't have to even move. So you just have to move your finger in order to unlock your phone. So it's very important to talk about this change that happened over the years. And of course, now we have, we have Skype, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, email, and WhatsApp, which are all big players in the communication game and in the mass media game too. Of course, nowadays maybe email is even a bit antiquated, but WhatsApp is very common and up to date, I guess. Skype, same goes with Skype, or there is some similar product out there from Apple, which is FaceTime. You can just video message or you can not only video message a person, but you can have a face-to-face communication with a dear friend or part of the family overseas. So that's no problem nowadays. And that's basically it about the communication nowadays. So if you know anything I've forgotten, or if you know any other means of communication that is important to know about, just write it in the comments so that we can treat it either now or in the next stream. But now I want to move on with the topic of verbal and non-verbal communication. So basically, verbal and non-verbal communication, we have two terms, and they're really easy to define. And basically, I want to mention a quote, which is from Paul Watzlawick. I'm gonna mention it in German, and I can tell you it in English, but it sounds really stupid, but it sounds in German stupid too. So, man kann nicht kommunizieren, which is basically you cannot not communicate. So, which basically states that verbal communication is as important as non-verbal communication, or vice versa. So basically it states that also non-verbal communication, if you leave verbal communication out, non-verbal communication is some sort of communication, and you can communicate with somebody else, even you are not talking to him or her. So verbal communication is, of course, the communication involving spoken or written words. So not only spoken words, but written words too. So you always, not always, you also have emails or phone, text messages. Then you have the real verbal communication, phone calls, face-to-face conversations. Very important when it comes to your presentation in the oral exam. So, as you might noticed, non-verbal communication is all about body language. So gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, posture, and even clothes are are a crucial factor when it comes to non-verbal communication. And this, of course, is especially important for your presentations, as I've already said. Not only should you think about your pronunciation, so verbal communication, although some of the experts kind of discuss this topic if pronunciation is maybe some sort of non-verbal communication, but now we don't focus on such aspects. But if you are doing or if you are ready for your oral exam, or if you are already preparing for your oral exam, which you should, it's a good thing to practice your non-verbal communication, which means body language, gestures, expression, eye contact, posture, And of course your clothes, your style, your hairstyle. These are all factors that influence the examiner in some way. So be sure to practice it. We have other streams that cover exactly those topics, how to best prepare for the oral exam. And you should definitely check those streams out, since it's very important not only to have knowledge over your topic, but also to be able to have some sort of presence. So if you're not sitting straight, it doesn't make a good impression on the examiner. So be sure to check those streams out that cover these topics or this topic. Then now I'm gonna talk about pros and cons of digital communication methods. So basically those are just a few pros and cons that came into my mind. If you have other ideas, maybe that some cons of mine are even pros, or some additional pros or some additional cons, write it in our comments and we let you know what we think of it. So basically the pros that I've written down here are fast, effective, almost no lag, and simultaneous transmittance. So I think those are very clear-cut pros. Those are all pros that focus on nowadays digital communication methods. And the cons are, we have cyberbullying, we have sharing of personal information, which is a big topic, and cyberbullying too. And another con that came into my mind was no real face-to-face communication possible, although it is possible via Skype or I forgot the name, FaceTime. You have some sort of face-to-face communication, but of course there is still the phone or the camera in front of you, which you are talking to. So basically it's no real face-to-face communication. And of course cyberbullying is a very important topic you should have a look into. It's very important for your oral A-level exam. And the sharing of personal information is also a very crucial topic, since it is becoming more and more important to protect your privacy, especially your online privacy. And there are a lot of articles out there that cover such topics. So be sure to just research those topics, and you will find plenty of articles with which you can work and gain some new knowledge in order to impress your examiners in the oral A-level exam. So now we're gonna talk about the impact of digital communication methods on verbal and non-verbal skills. So what I've come up with is, do people lose their non-verbal communication skills? And I thought about all the means that we're using, such as Skype or FaceTime, as I've already mentioned. And basically, this question is a question you have to answer by yourself. And therefore, I've written it down here so that you can think about it and form your own opinion about this. If maybe this statement is completely nonsense, but I think there is some value to it. And what I've come up with is that is, I think, quite interesting for your oral exam too, is do we use emojis as a substitute for nonverbal communication nowadays? So I know a lot of people that are just using emojis nowadays on WhatsApp or on Facebook. Facebook, you can even add your state of emotion with every post. So another question that might spark your interest in this topic. I think it has become a very big thing using emojis. So can it be a substitute for nonverbal communication? Not, and of course you have to consider it's not about the nonverbal communication in a presentation. I'm talking about the nonverbal communication that is happening without writing words or phrases, just to be sure. And of course we have fast and short communication. We don't, or some people don't use full words anymore. They just use abbreviations such as which are out there, LOL or ASAP or something like this. So very interesting. And this is of course linked to the rapid development of nowadays communication and mass media. It is all interlinked. That's very important that you understand that all the types of media and the forms of communication are interlinked. So be sure to just know that, and if you do not, just check out our streams. The future of communication. I've written a question mark because it is very difficult to tell you the exact future of communication. That's not possible. But opinions differ a lot when it comes to future of communication. So, for example, in future we might be able to communicate only via our phones or our cars maybe. Everything is possible, so that's the thing I left to your own. Think about it, and again, write it in our comment section of this stream. And now we are going to do demonstration exam analysis. So I've prepared 2 exams, social networking, and which are about social networking and mass media. And I'm just gonna show you those exams, and just that you have an impression how those exams might look. Yeah, it's not mass media. Oh, I forgot to, yeah. Technology in news media. So for example, task 1. In task 1, it's all about forms of news media. Maybe I just opened the wrong exam. Here it is. Mass media. So that's the right exam. Introduction is the same as always. I hope it's possible to read it. Yeah, it's better now, I think. You will ask some questions about your career, future plans, etc. Those are 4 minutes now. Task 1 is different types of media. So in this case, you're a journalist and you have been asked to give a talk in a school about mass media. Your task: give a brief introductory talk to your audience about mass media and talk about the different types of media, the benefits and drawbacks of mass media, the importance of mass media. Always the same thing, the monologue, speaking, 4 minutes of time. 4 minutes is your time limit, so to say. And you have, of course, to integrate those 3 bullet points in your presentation in order to successfully complete task 1. So task 2 is all about ebook versus print media. After your talk, you open up the discussion up to questions about the benefits and drawbacks of ebooks from your audience. Use the information from the attached text. Ebooks versus printed books, which is preferred now? As well as your own ideas during the conversation. In this case, you need the article, of course. Yeah, that's all about it. So be sure to focus also on the article and your own knowledge to successfully complete this exam. In the end, of course, there is the follow-up discussion, which I can't tell you now which are those, which questions will be asked in the exams, and since they are always different, depends on the board of examiners. Yeah, and then we're gonna move on to the social networking exam. Introduction is the same, so we're gonna skip that. Task 1 is about communication nowadays. Again, monologue speaking, 4 minutes. In this case, you are an independent social media expert. You have been asked to hold a presentation in a school in front of the school's peoples and teachers about the different types of communication nowadays. Your task now is give a brief introductory talk to your audience about modern communication in general. Talk about what today's communication looks like, modern communication methods in comparison to more traditional communication methods or forms. We've already talked about this today. And the future of communication. So you can be creative with this last bullet point, and it's very easy since you can prepare it before the oral exam. So you even have preparation time, but you can prepare it before your oral English A-level exam. Task 2 is about social media, which is the role play dialogue. And then you're gonna hold a discussion focusing on social media, its benefits and drawbacks. And of course, you're allowed to use the information from this attached text, as well as your own ideas during the conversation. And the follow-up discussion is, as always, different. If you want to have a closer look at these exams, those are past exams I did in a stream, so be sure to check out the other streams about the topics communication, and you find the links for the articles. But of course we can post them anyway if you like to look it up, the articles. And yeah, that was it basically from my side. Do we have any comments?
No, we don't.
Okay, so therefore, I hope that you have a better understanding now of the topic communication and mass media. And I want to say goodbye to you and wish you a very pleasant evening.